Hey everybody, it's Lynn Hayes here. Welcome back to my channel. This week we're going to talk about the astrology that's coming up, the astrological influences that are coming up for the week. There's not a whole lot going on this week, so we'll be able to dig into some other topics that might be interesting for you. So if you're new here, my name's Lynn Hayes. I'm an astrologer. I have a blog and a Facebook page and a Twitter feed, and all that information will be in the description box. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and you can ring the little notification bell to be notified of new videos. I'm posting new videos every Monday. So this week I wanted to talk a little bit about Ceres. Ceres was originally, when it was first discovered, it was called a planet, and then it was demoted to asteroid status. 3 other asteroids were discovered right after Ceres was, and so they were all lumped together with Ceres. And I'll be talking more about them as time goes on. But Ceres in 2010, was upgraded to planet status, and at that time I started using it more in readings and just in forecasting. So Ceres has a lot to do with nutrition and with self-care. I think of it as being a planet that is involved in connecting us more fully into our physical incarnation. So that has more of a spiritual quality than just the body. Cancer and the moon have to do with nutrition and with feeding the soul, but Ceres takes it a step, kind of a step beyond that. I've had clients who have Ceres that's afflicted in their charts, that have had eating disorders, problems taking care of themselves. So there seems to be this quality of self-care, whereas the moon is more about taking care of others, cooking for other people, taking care, doing active procedures to help people in a variety of ways. That's more the moon in Cancer. Ceres has more to do with self-care, how we feel about being in a body on planet Earth. So I want to talk a little bit about what's happening with Ceres right now, because there's actually quite a few planetary configurations that are affecting Ceres, and especially this week. So we have Mars, which is conjunct Ceres. Just want to pull this up right in front of me. Yeah, so Mars is conjunct Ceres right now. So there's kind of a drive right now, because Mars represents a drive, sort of a forceful experience. Mars is in Pisces, where of course it's a little less forceful than it usually is. It's more compassionate, kinder. It's a kinder and more gentle Mars. But Mars has just transited Ceres, so there's kind of a drive, and most of us are in quarantine, and we're all concerned with food and with eating and with cooking and with how that's affecting the nourishment of the body and the soul and the spirit. So Ceres is already kind of triggered by that Mars aspect. And then on the 26th, we have Ceres in a harmonious sextile to Uranus, which is the planet of innovation and change. And then there's one other thing, which is on the 29th, the Sun is going to form a square to Ceres. So all this week, the Ceres is interacting with a variety of planets. And I feel like, at the beginning of quarantine, many of us got into cooking and we were baking, and you can't find yeast. And I think at this point, we've been in quarantine for 2, maybe 3 months. It's probably getting a little old. I know a lot of people are telling me that they're eating a lot of cookies and ice cream and a lot of sugar and things that aren't going to nourish our soul, much less our body. So Ceres is going to call this to our attention this week. This is something that's likely going to come up. And I feel that right now, with the situation with the virus and everything that's happening, we really need to be taking care not only of our physical bodies, but also of our emotions and of our just kind of the soulful experiences that we need as humans in our lifetime. You know, we need to have contact with other people. It can be on Zoom, you know, we don't have to get together in big groups of 100 people at a bar, but we do need to have contact. We need to feel that we are taking care of our soul needs and still be safe. So this is going to be kind of a challenge. Ceres and Chiron, the planet of wounding and healing, are in an awkward aspect right now. It's a 30-degree aspect. Most astrologers have come to start calling this aspect a semi-sextile, which in my view makes no sense, because a sextile is a harmonious aspect. A semi-sextile seems like it would mean a harmonious aspect, only maybe a little less, maybe a little softer. And it's not that at all. A 30-degree angle aspect, when a planet is in one sign and then the other planet is in the sign right next to it. Those two signs, if you look at any two signs in the zodiac, they don't understand each other, they don't get along, they can't relate to each other, they can't communicate. So when two planets are in a 30-degree aspect, especially if it's exact, which is what we have with Chiron and Ceres, they don't really get along. They don't argue, they don't fight, but they can't communicate. They're in two different spheres entirely. So this is tricky right now in our situation with the virus. Normally, I think we wouldn't be so affected. But Chiron has to do with, you know, wounding and healing of the body. It can bring up emotional wounds. It can cause us to feel, you know, upset and maybe a bit distraught. And the fact that there's this awkward aspect this week with Ceres, dealing with nurturing the soul and the physical incarnation, that suggests that this could be a week that's challenging for this kind of thing. So I'm really recommending for everybody, all my clients and all of you all, that this week we really be careful with what we put in our mouth and what we, the kinds of things we think about, how much news we take in, what sort of quality that news has. There's so much anger and rage and frustration out there right now. And if you have a steady diet of that, that can also affect us negatively. And this week, with these particular planetary transits, we're particularly sensitive to that. So that's those things. Mercury, the planet of the mind, is going to move into Cancer on the 28th. So Mercury has been in Gemini. We've had a lot of Gemini. So I don't know about you, but I've been thinking, my brain is just working overtime. That's what Gemini is all about. Communication and ideas and learning and, oh, I want to learn this. I want to do this. There's so much, you know, there's so much out there. There's so many videos right now teaching all kinds of things. It's a very exciting time for those of us that like to learn. But that can make our brains kind of tired and exhausted. And when Mercury moves into Cancer on the 28th, that's going to have a more calming effect. We're going to be probably leaning more towards connecting with our tribe. Cancer is about family, but for some of us, it's not our family of origin if we're not connected in that way. But there definitely with Cancer is a need to belong to a tribe, a group, you know, my people, these are my people. So when Mercury goes into Cancer on the 28th, we'll be thinking a lot more about that. Like, who are my people? I've been seeing this in the news. There are articles about who's your quarantine tribe, which I think is so interesting. Who are the people that are important enough to you that you see them even in quarantine? So that's going to be even more prevalent. Mercury, we'll probably talk about this next week. Mercury will be going retrograde in a few weeks, and so it'll start to slow down. I want to talk about this whole idea of the shadow and all that. But right now, what we need to know is that Mercury is going to be moving into Cancer on the 28th, and that's a really good time to think about maybe, connecting with other people. And of course, Venus is retrograde, and Venus retrograde does often put us in touch with people from our past. So that's really about all we have going on this week. On June 2nd, which is right after this video expires on June 1st, because it's about a week. And so I'll be posting another video on June 1st. But Venus will be pretty active on June 2nd and the 3rd. And those are usually pleasant days where there's a lot of good feeling and life generally goes pretty smoothly. And then the other thing that's coming up on that week, on June 5th, is a lunar eclipse, which is at the Gemini full moon. So that's going to be some exciting news for us to talk about. So I'm going to leave you with that. This is a little bit short this week. I hope you have a wonderful week. If you have questions or anything you'd like me to cover, please leave them in the comments. Please subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and thanks for joining me.